Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters, and today we're going to be building Tamiya's Panzer III in, and we're going to do it in a North African motif. I'm also going to show you using some Magic Sculpt resin putty. We're going to make a little base for it using some rocks and some ballast. So let's get started on it. I've gone ahead and completed final construction on the kit here. Left off a few parts that we want to paint separately. Most of the tools got glued on, as well as this kit also includes a metal barrel as well as the photo etch grills for the top here. I left some of the hatches open to do the diorama as we wanted in case we put a figure inside there. So the first step we're going to do is, as usual, we're going to paint XF69 NATO black. That's going to be our shadow coat. Now, because this is going to be a North African Panzer III, I want a little more contrast on the top coat of the paint. So I'm going to use a little XF2 flat white, and we're going to go over some of the top areas where the paint would be a little bit lighter. So when we put our final coat on, it'll lighten the paint slightly, but still show some of the shadow effect. I've gone ahead and mixed up a special batch of this North African paint, the one that Tamiya recommends, and see how it's going to look. It's actually 5 parts of XF15, which is flesh, and 2 parts of XF64, which is a red-brown. So I've gone and mixed this up, thinned it out, and let's go ahead and put it on and see how it looks. Well, I put the coat of the paint on there, that Africa color that they chose, and at first I wasn't too sure if I liked it or not. It's so much more unusual than what I first thought it was going to be. But I'm going to go ahead and try it out, and if I don't like it at the end, I can always repaint it. But the next coat is, they want you to do camouflage with XF57, kind of a normal camouflage pattern. So let's try that out, do a little weathering on it, and like I said, if we don't like it, we can always paint over it. Well, I'm starting to like it a little bit better now that we put the buff on. I also gave it a quick little misting over the entire top of buff to kind of knock down that kind of orangish pink color. But it actually doesn't look too bad against the desert backdrop. So let's go ahead and dull coat the entire thing, see how much that changes it, and then we'll keep working on it. I mixed up a new undercoat for tracks. It's made a big enough bottle of it. I used about 50% NATO black, about 40% flat red, and then a couple of drops, about 10% of a copper color to give it a little bit of metal flake. And this is just going to be a primer base coat for the tracks. And it might look a little red right now. We don't want to go for like a rust effect. We want to go for like a tarnish. And now the second coat we're going to go over that is just with a light dusting of NATO black to hide some of the red, but still see some of those red tones pass through. Now we need to do a little dry brushing on the lower parts of the vehicle. North Africa would really beat up the paint. This is also why I wasn't too careful on masking off the rubber on the road wheels, because when you dry brush on it, it leaves a nice little effect of the rubber, but you still see some dirt and stuff that accumulates on the road wheels. And we're just using NATO black to do that. And very small amount of paint still left on the brush. But still enough to scratch it up. Now, to get a little bit of the track sag, I've gone ahead and put a little bit of super glue up inside the return rollers, and then using some paint brushes, we just shove that in there to the kind of sag you want and let that dry for about 5 minutes, and you'll have a little bit of a track sag. Okay, now that we've weathered the bottom down here, we're going to start doing the top. Since then, I've gone ahead and dull coated the entire model to seal the decals in. I also started applying the extra road wheels and the tow cables. Those have already been kind of pre-weathered already, as well as I've also painted the insides of all those things interior buff. So now we're going to use, just like we did on the bottom, we're going to use XF69, and we're going to start weathering and doing all of the tops to make it look worn just like the bottom. I've got all the scratching done pretty well the way I like it. So the last step I'm going to do now is we're going to take a coat of XF57 buff and just put a light dust coat on. And you want to do that from probably about 12 to 14 inches away and just lightly let it mist over the entire tank. Well, there it is. Actually, I really like the way that paint turned out. That color at first looked a little too pinky orange, but after weathering it and putting it into the diorama, I think it looks really good. We added a few water jerry cans in the back, and we'll zoom in on this for you from up above. And lastly, I'd like to just give you an eye-level view of the model and the diorama. I would eventually like to add a figure onto it. Unfortunately, I don't have any figures that would really fit with this diorama, so I'll go on looking. I know there's some Alpine figures out there that might look really, really good on this set. So thank you very much for watching, as usual, and have a great day.